Look, I have been doing security assessments for the Galactic Council for 43 cycles now. 43 cycles of checking whether Species X can handle diplomatic protocols without accidentally poisoning Species Y with their breathing apparatus. 43 cycles of mind-numbing paperwork, tedious risk calculations, and listening to bureaucrats drone on about procedural adherence. So when Administrator Volmek called an emergency session, I figured, great. Another thrilling debate about parking space allocations at the central hub. Maybe someone's feelings got hurt because their species wasn't invited to the trade summit. You know, the usual galaxy-ending catastrophe. I was wrong. Very, very wrong. Colleagues, Volmek announced, his 6 throat sacs vibrating with what I could only describe as barely suppressed panic. We have received a membership application from a species calling themselves humans. Polite chittering filled the chamber. Standard procedure. New species applied all the time. Most got approved within a solar rotation. Easy work. Decent pay. Everyone goes home happy. Then Volmek dropped the file onto the holographic display. The room went dead silent. Their planet of origin, he continued, has been classified as a Grade 12 Deathworld. Grade 12. Let me explain something. The galactic habitability scale goes from Grade 1, which is basically a paradise moon where the most dangerous thing is getting a mild sunburn, to Grade 10, which represents worlds so hostile that we question whether carbon-based life should even exist there. We have 3 known Grade 10 worlds. None of them have produced spacefaring civilizations because, shockingly, it is hard to develop warp theory when your planet is actively trying to murder you every single day. Grade 12 was not supposed to exist. It was a theoretical maximum, a joke among xenobiologists. Perhaps there has been a clerical error. Counselor Threxis suggested, her mandibles clicking nervously. A miscalculation in the assessment algorithm. Negative. Volmek pulled up the data. The assessment was run 7 times by 3 independent xenobiology teams. The results are unfortunately consistent. I leaned forward, scanning the statistics, scrolling past. Atmospheric oxygen percentage that would literally rust most species from the inside out. Gravity level that would crush a delphinium into paste. Rotational axis tilt causing extreme seasonal variations. Tectonic activity. Volcanic activity. Hurricane force wind systems. Predatory megafauna. Microscopic parasitic organisms numbering in the millions of varieties. And the kicker. 94% of the planet's surface lifeforms possessed some form of chemical, mechanical, or biological defense system capable of causing harm to human physiology. Their own planet was trying to kill them. Constantly. How? I muttered. How did anything survive long enough to evolve sentience there? That, Volmek said, pointing one of his auxiliary appendages at me, is precisely the question that requires answering. We need a comprehensive security assessment before we can even consider their application. More nervous chittering. Everyone suddenly found their datapads incredibly fascinating. Standard council behavior. When actual work appeared, people developed selective blindness. We need a volunteer to lead the assessment team, Volmek continued, his eye stalks sweeping the room. Someone experienced with high-risk evaluations. Silence. Glorious, cowardly silence. And here is where I made my mistake. You see, I have this terrible habit. When everyone else is being a spineless politician, my sarcasm gland activates involuntarily. Oh sure, I said, because clearly a species that survived a Grade 12 Deathworld is going to be a safety concern. I am sure they are absolutely delightful. Probably spend their days knitting and composing poetry. Volmek's eye stalks focused directly on me. Excellent, Consultant Kravix. Your enthusiasm is noted. You will depart for Earth within 3 rotations. Try not to die. Fantastic. Just fantastic. The shuttle descent into Earth's atmosphere was, to put it mildly, absolutely terrifying. My pilot, a cheerful Quellan named Bixto, kept making these alarmed whistling sounds as the atmospheric entry protocols kept pinging warnings, heat warnings, pressure warnings, gravitational stress warning, the kind of warnings that usually mean turn around immediately before your ship becomes an expensive fireball. This is normal? Bixty squeaked. Apparently, I said, watching the temperature gauge climb into the red zone. The humans do this daily. We touched down at New Seattle Orbital Station, which was not actually orbital at all but sat at ground level, because apparently humans just named things whatever they felt like. The airlock pressurization made my ears pop 3 times. 3 times. The gravity hit me like a cargo container. My knees actually buckled. And standing there in the arrival bay looking completely unbothered by the crushing weight of his own planet was our human liaison officer, Consultant Kravix. He extended his hand, lips pulling back to show his teeth. I later learned this was called smiling. At the time I thought he was about to bite me. Marcus Chen, Diplomatic Integration Office. Welcome to Earth. How was your flight? Survived it, I managed, trying not to wheeze. Great, great. He laughed. Actually laughed. The gravity gets easier after a few days. We have support exoskeletons if you need them. But honestly, most visitors just tough it out. Tough it out. As if acclimating to bone-crushing gravity was equivalent to enduring a mildly uncomfortable chair. The tour started immediately because apparently humans did not believe in rest periods. Marcus led me through the station complex, chattering away about safety protocols, emergency procedures, and cultural considerations. Normal stuff. Except, nothing about this was normal. We passed a window, overlooking the exterior landing pads. I stopped, staring. Is that, I said slowly, a lightning storm? Oh yeah. Big one rolling in. Marcus glanced out casually. We will probably need to pause external operations for an hour or two. Beautiful though, right? Great photo opportunity. Beautiful. He called a massive electrical discharge system that could vaporize most species beautiful. Do you not evacuate during electrical atmospheric events? I asked. From lightning? Marcus looked genuinely confused. No, I mean we don't stand outside holding metal rods or anything, but the buildings are grounded. It is fine. It is fine. 2 words I would hear approximately 6,000 times during my assessment. The cafeteria experience really should have prepared me for what was coming, but somehow it still caught me off guard. Marcus insisted we grab food, to keep your energy up. The serving area had warning labels, actual warning labels on food, color-coded threat assessments ranging from mild to extreme. What? I asked, pointing at a dish marked with 3 red symbols. Is that? Oh, curry. Spicy one. Probably skip that for now. He loaded his tray with something that had steam rising off it. This is good though. Classic chili. Little kick to it but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. The chemical analysis scanner on my datapad was having a seizure trying to classify the capsaicin content. We sat down and I watched in horrified fascination as Marcus consumed what was essentially flavored chemical warfare. Other humans around us were doing the same, laughing, talking, acting like this was completely reasonable behavior. So, Marcus said between bites, after lunch I figured we could check out the recreation center. Got some humans doing the climbing wall, maybe catch some of the parkour group, really popular activities. Climbing wall? Yeah, artificial rock face, 40 meters, various difficulty levels, good workout. And parkour, running, jumping, vaulting over obstacles, urban acrobatics basically. He grinned again. It is super fun to watch. These folks are amazing athletes. I stared at him. You are telling me that humans, living on a planet that is actively trying to kill them at every moment, invented additional dangerous activities for entertainment? Well, yeah. Marcus laughed like I had just said something hilarious. I mean, what else are we going to do? Sit around being bored? That would be way worse. Way worse. These people thought boredom was worse than voluntary physical danger. I was beginning to understand why this was a grade 12 Deathworld. It was not just the planet. It was the inhabitants. The Wilderness Survival Training Facility was located 2 hours outside New Seattle, in what Marcus cheerfully described as pretty mild terrain. Mild terrain apparently meant dense forest, uneven ground, and approximately 15 different species of plants that could cause allergic reactions severe enough to require medical intervention. For humans, this was a recreational area. Our transport vehicle, something called an all-terrain transport, bounced along a path that barely qualified as a road. My internal organs were experiencing gravity in ways I am pretty sure they were not designed for. Marcus, naturally, was humming along to some audio entertainment like we were on a pleasant afternoon cruise. Here we are, he announced, as we pulled into a clearing. Darwin Wilderness Academy, best survival school in the Pacific Northwest region. You named it after Darwin? I asked. The scientist who proposed your evolutionary theory? Yep, little joke. You know, survival of the fittest and all that. He laughed. Wait until you meet Yuki. She is fantastic. Yuki Tanaka was waiting for us at the main lodge wearing practical outdoor clothing and a smile that was somehow both welcoming and absolutely terrifying. She was compact, muscular, and radiated the kind of confidence that suggested she had personally fought the planet and won. Marcus, good to see you. She clasped his hand, then turned to me. And you must be Consultant Krivix. Heard you are doing an assessment on us. Hope we do not scare you too much. She said this while grinning, actually grinning. I am a professional, I replied stiffly. I do not scare easily. Great, her grin widened. We have got a beginner class starting in 10 minutes, 12 to 14-year-olds. Figure that will give you a good baseline of what we teach. 12 to 14. Children. They were teaching children. The class assembled in the clearing, 15 young humans wearing matching outdoor gear, chattering excitedly among themselves. They looked at me with open curiosity, a few of them waving enthusiastically. I felt like I was watching prey animals greet a predator with cheerful obliviousness, except, as I was rapidly learning, humans were not prey. All right everyone, Yuki called out, clapping her hands together. Today we are covering 3 core skills. Fire starting without modern tools, edible versus toxic plant identification, and predator awareness tracking. Let us start with fire. She held up 2 pieces of wood and some dried organic material. Remember, friction is your friend. Bow drill method. Like we practiced. Who wants to demonstrate? Every single hand went up, eagerly. I watched in stunned silence as a young human, maybe 13 cycles old, proceeded to create actual fire through nothing but manual effort and wood friction. Fire, controlled combustion, one of the most dangerous elemental forces in the galaxy, and children were being taught to summon it from raw materials. Excellent work, Tommy, Yuki praised. Good ember development. Now let us talk plants. She walked to a nearby cluster of vegetation and pointed at various specimens. This one, Western hemlock, perfectly safe. This one, water hemlock, will absolutely kill you if ingested. Notice the difference. Stem patterns, leaf arrangement, root structure. What happens if you eat the poisonous one? I could not help asking. Oh, respiratory failure, convulsions, death within a few hours. Yuki said this with the same casual tone someone might use to describe a mildly inconvenient schedule conflict. That is why we teach identification early. Really important skill, really important, because apparently human children needed to know which plants would kill them versus which plants would merely make them uncomfortable. Now, Yuki continued, moving toward the tree line. Let us talk predators. We have got black bears, cougars, and occasionally wolves in this region. Generally, they avoid humans, but you need to know the signs. She pointed at marks on a tree trunk. Claw marks. About 6 feet up. Black bear. See how the scratches angle? That tells you size, behavior pattern. How recently they were here. One of the students raised her hand. What if we encounter one on the trail? Depends on the species and situation, Yuki replied. Black bears, make yourself big. Make noise, back away slowly. Grizzlies, different protocol. Mountain lions never run. Maintain eye contact. We will practice encounter scenarios next week. Practice. Encounter. Scenarios. They were going to practice meeting predators. Excuse me, I interrupted. My translator probably conveying my distress poorly. This is, what did Marcus call it? Basic education. Sure, Yuki nodded enthusiastically. Every kid in this region learns wilderness survival by age 15. It is part of the standard curriculum. You know, just in case. Just in case of what exactly? Well, anything really. She shrugged. Getting lost during a hike, vehicle breakdown in remote areas, natural disaster evacuation. Life happens, better to know how to handle it than panic. Marcus leaned over, that unsettling smile back on his face. Our planet had rules, Consultant Kravix. Simple rules. Adapt or die. Learn or perish. So we learned everything. And now? I asked weakly. Now? Yuki's grin matched Marcus's exactly. Now we teach our children the same lessons. Because on Earth you do not just survive. You master survival. Then you get bored and find harder challenges. One of the students, a girl named Sophie, piped up helpfully. Last month I went rock climbing. Next month whitewater rafting. For fun, another added. For fun. I was going to need to completely rewrite my assessment parameters. The medical facility tour was supposed to be the reassuring part of my assessment. Medicine, after all, is a universal constant. Beings get sick. Beings get hurt. Medical professionals apply treatment. Standard procedures across the galaxy. Comforting predictability. I should have known better by now. Dr. Amaro Okonkwo met us in the main lobby of Seattle General Hospital. Her identification badge listing approximately 17 different medical specializations. She had kind eyes, A warm smile and a sort of calm demeanor that immediately made me suspicious. Nobody working in emergency medicine should be that relaxed. "Welcome, Consultant Kravix," she said, shaking my hand with a grip that suggested she could probably crush rocks if sufficiently motivated. "Marcus mentioned you wanted to understand human medical resilience. I have got some case studies that should prove illuminating." "I appreciate your time, Doctor," I replied, trying to match her professional tone. "I am particularly interested in your trauma response protocols and recovery timelines." "Oh, you are going to love this," she said, her smile widening in a way that made my survival instinct scream warnings. We walked through the emergency department, passing treatment rooms where humans were receiving care for what the displays labeled as minor injuries. I glanced at one read out: compound fracture, severe lacerations, concussion protocol. "Minor?" I asked. "Oh yeah, that guy will be out tomorrow, probably." Dr. Okonkwo waved dismissively. "Took a fall during a mountain biking incident. Broken arm, some road rash, mild head trauma, standard weekend stuff." Standard weekend stuff. We entered her office, where she pulled up holographic displays showing various medical scans and patient records, appropriately anonymized for privacy. "So, let me start with immune system function." She began pulling up a cellular diagram that looked like a military battle schematic. "Human immune response is, how do I put this delicately, extremely aggressive. We basically declared war on everything microscopic millions of years ago and never signed a peace treaty." She zoomed in on what appeared to be white blood cells actively destroying foreign organisms. "See that? Pathogens that would completely overwhelm most species' defenses get absolutely demolished by our immune system. We produce antibodies at frankly ridiculous rates. Our inflammatory response is so intense that sometimes we have to calm it down with medication to prevent our own bodies from causing collateral damage. Your immune system," I said slowly, "attacks so aggressively that you need to suppress it. Sometimes." "Yeah." She laughed, like this was perfectly reasonable. "We adapt fast too. Vaccine development works great because our immune systems learn patterns and hold grudges. Biological memory is incredibly robust." She switched to another file. "Now let me show you some injury recovery cases. This patient, construction accident, metal beam fell on him, crushed 3 ribs, punctured lung, severe internal bleeding." I felt my stomach turn. And the survival rate for such trauma. "Oh, he lived, made full recovery in 8 weeks, back to work in 12. She scrolled through the timeline images showing progressive healing, bone regeneration, tissue repair, scar formation. Pretty textbook case, really. Pretty textbook. An injury that would require my species to be placed in medical stasis for half a year, possibly resulting in permanent disability, was textbook for humans. "Here is another fun one," Dr. Okonkwo continued, clearly enjoying this presentation far too much. "Rock climbing accident, fell about 30 feet, multiple fractures, severe contusions. Want to guess recovery time?" I am genuinely afraid to ask. 6 weeks walking unassisted, 3 months back to climbing. She grinned. He actually came back through the emergency department 4 months later for a different climbing injury, different mountain, same hobby. He returned to the activity that nearly killed him. Of course, why would he stop? She said this like I had asked why water was wet. "Look, humans have this thing we call walking it off. Minor to moderate pain, we just keep going. Pain tolerance is pretty high compared to most species. Has to be, honestly. Our planet does not give us much choice." She pulled up a comparison chart. "See this? Average pain threshold across species. Humans are in the 97th percentile. We had to develop high pain tolerance just to function in Earth's environment. What your species considers minor injuries," I said carefully, "would require my species to be hospitalized with full life support systems." "Yeah, probably." Dr. Okonkwo nodded sympathetically. "Marcus mentioned you guys have a way gentler homeworld. Must be nice, honestly. We do not really know what that is like. For us, getting hurt is just part of life. You adapt, you heal, you move forward. And if you cannot adapt," her expression grew serious for the first time, "then Earth teaches you a permanent lesson. That is the other side of our world. It made us resilient, but it cost us a lot throughout history. We learned to be tough because the alternative was extinction. So you chose survival." "No, Consultant." Her smile returned, somehow sadder and fiercer simultaneously. "We chose to thrive despite everything trying to stop us. Big difference. Marcus insisted that no proper assessment could be complete without what he called cultural immersion through social bonding, which apparently meant I was attending a casual evening gathering at someone's residential dwelling. "You will love it," he assured me as we drove through the darkening streets. "Just neighbors, friends. Really low-key, good food, good conversation, help you see how normal humans actually are. Normal. Right, because everything I had witnessed so far screamed normal." The house belonged to someone named Patricia Voss, a civil engineer, who apparently designed bridges in her professional life and grew lethal plants as a hobby. Her garden featured warning signs in 3 languages. I chose not to ask questions. Inside, roughly 20 humans had gathered, ranging from young adults to what I estimated were elder members of their species. They greeted me with enthusiastic warmth, offering handshakes, and those terrifying tooth-baring smiles. "What can I get you to drink?" Patricia asked, gesturing toward a table laden with various beverages. "We have got beer, wine, some cocktails, soft drinks, water." "Water would be prudent," I replied. "Oh, come on," a human named Jackson called from across the room. "Live a little. Try the beer. It is local craft, really smooth." Marcus leaned in, lowering his voice. "Fair warning, alcohol is technically a poison. Ethanol. We drink it recreationally for the neurological effects." I stared at him. "You consume poison deliberately for entertainment." "I mean, when you put it that way it sounds bad." He shrugged. "But yeah, basically, social lubricant. Helps people relax, lowers inhibitions a bit. Just do not overdo it, or you get something called a hangover, which is absolutely miserable." They poisoned themselves, experienced negative consequences, and then did it again later. Voluntarily, I stuck with water. The gathering proceeded with what humans apparently considered normal social interaction. Food was shared, the kind that made my scanner have small mechanical breakdowns trying to analyze the chemical compositions. Conversations flowed easily, punctuated by frequent laughter. Then someone suggested sharing stories. "Oh, you have got to hear about Kravix's assessment," Marcus announced, gesturing toward me with his beer container. "Visiting from the Galactic Council, checking if we are civilized enough to join the big leagues. And," someone called out, "still deciding if you people qualify as sane." I muttered. This produced uproarious laughter. They thought I was joking. "Tell him about the Yellowstone trip," Patricia suggested to a man named Robert. "Oh man, yeah." Robert settled into his chair, grinning. "So last summer, family vacation to Yellowstone National Park. Beautiful place, geothermal features, stunning views. We are hiking this trail maybe 2 miles from the visitor center when we round a corner and there is a bison, massive thing, easily a ton of muscle and attitude." "What did you do?" I asked, morbidly curious. "Gave it space, obviously. Backed away slowly, waited for it to move on." He sipped his drink. "Thing is, tourists do not always respect the wildlife. Every year someone gets gored because they wanted a selfie with a bison, 2,000-pound animal, horns that can flip a car, and mine treat it like a petting zoo attraction. They survive these gorings. Some do, some do not. Depends on the injury." He said this with the same casual tone someone might use discussing weather patterns. A younger human, maybe 10 years old, named Emma Rodriguez, piped up from where she sat on the floor. "I saw a bear once, at camp last year. It came right through our campsite looking for food." Every adult in the room smiled indulgently. My translator must have malfunctioned, because surely this child was not discussing a predator encounter like it was a field trip highlight. "What happened, Emma?" I asked carefully. "Oh, we all got in the cabin like we were supposed to. Made noise and it left after a few minutes." She shrugged. "Counselor said we did everything right. It was actually pretty cool. I got some good pictures through the window." "Pretty cool. Photographic documentation of potential death. Let me see if I understand correctly," I said, my voice probably conveying more stress than professional detachment. "You people live on a planet classified as one of the most hostile environments in the known galaxy, a planet with extreme weather, dangerous fauna, toxic flora, geological instability, and approximately 6,000 different ways to die on any given day." Nods around the room. Agreement. "And instead of simply surviving these conditions, you actively seek out additional dangers. You climb mountains. You jump out of aircraft for recreation. You teach your children to create fire and identify which plants will kill them. You intentionally poison yourselves socially. You engage predators, document the encounters, and consider it entertainment." More nods. Someone refilled their drink. Here is the thing, consultant, Jackson said, leaning forward with that unsettling smile they all seemed to share. Earth had rules. Strict rules. Adapt or die. Survive or perish. Learn fast or become extinct. So we learned. We adapted. We survived. And then, Patricia continued, we mastered survival. Figured out all the tricks. Learned all the lessons. Conquered fire, domesticated animals. Built shelters, created medicine. Developed technology. We beat the game. So we got bored, Robert added. Bored, I repeated flatly.
Yeah.
Emma nodded enthusiastically, like this was the most obvious thing in the universe. If you are only surviving, that is kind of boring after a while. So we made up new challenges, harder rules, better games. Marcus raised his beer in what appeared to be a toast gesture. Your Deathworld could not kill us, Kravix. So we made our own games, built our own challenges, invented sports, competitions, exploration goals. We did not just want to survive anymore. We wanted to thrive, Patricia finished. We wanted to push boundaries, test limits, see what was possible beyond just not dying. That is what humans do. We take the impossible and make it normal. Then we find something more impossible and start over. The room went quiet for a moment, all of them looking at me with expressions I was beginning to understand. Not arrogance, not recklessness, pride. They were proud of their Deathworld, proud of what it made them, proud that they refused to let their planet define their limits. You people, I said slowly, are absolutely insane. Yeah, Marcus agreed cheerfully, but we are really good at it. The laughter that followed was warm, genuine, and more terrifying than anything else I had witnessed, because they meant it. They knew exactly how dangerous they were, how improbable their existence was, how abnormal their perspective seemed, and they loved every minute of it. 3 weeks back on Council Station, and I was still trying to write a coherent assessment report that did not make me sound like I had suffered some sort of psychological break during my Earth visit. Draft 17 sat on my screen, cursor blinking mockingly at me. The problem was not finding things to say. The problem was making any of it sound believable. Security consultant Kravix reports that humans deliberately ingest poison for social recreation. No, delete. Human juvenile education includes predator encounter protocols and combustion generation techniques. True, but insane. Delete. Humans consider broken bones a minor inconvenience. Accurate. Completely unbelievable. Delete. I had been staring at the empty document for 2 hours when my communication console chimed. Administrator Volmek, requesting my presence at the council chamber. Immediately. Fantastic. I grabbed my preliminary notes, such as they were, and headed to what I was certain would be a professional humiliation session. The chamber was already full when I arrived. Volmek at the center, flanked by Councilors Threxus, Bormak, and Qualix, all of them watching me with expressions ranging from curious to skeptical. Consultant Kravix, Volmek began, his throat sacs quivering slightly. Your assessment deadline was 5 days ago. We have received nothing but delay requests and vague comments about needing additional analysis time. The council requires your evaluation. Is humanity suitable for membership or not? I stood there, datapad clutched in my appendages, trying to figure out where to even begin. They drink poison, I said finally. Silence. Elaborate, Volmek said carefully. They consume ethanol, a toxic substance, recreationally, for enjoyment. They call it alcohol. They poison themselves, experience negative physical effects called hangovers, and then repeat this behavior regularly. Socially acceptable, culturally normalized. Councilor Threxus's mandibles clicked dismissively. Many species have mild intoxicant traditions, hardly disqualifying. They teach their children to create fire with primitive materials, I continued, warming up now. They train juveniles to identify lethal flora and fauna. They engage in recreational activities specifically designed to cause controlled danger. Jumping from aircraft, climbing vertical rock faces, descending rapids and small watercraft. They call these hobby. Consultant, Bormak rumbled. You are describing standard risk-taking behavior present in many developing species. Surely Earth cannot be that different. Different. I felt something snap inside me. Counselors, humans do not just take risks, they manufacture them. Their planet, classified grade 12 on our habitability scale, spent millions of years trying to kill them. Extreme weather, predatory megafauna, seismic instability, toxic organisms, everything about Earth said no sentient species should exist there. But they survived, Qualix offered. No, I slammed my datapad on the podium. They did not just survive, they conquered. They looked at a planet actively attempting to exterminate them and said, "We are going to master this." And they did, completely. They domesticated their predators. They cultivated their toxic plants. They built structures to withstand their geological tantrums. They created medicine to counter their biological hazards. Volmek leaned forward. Then they are adapted, resilient, positive traits. You are not understanding me. I pulled up the holographic images from my visit. Yuki teaching children survival skills. Dr. Okonkwo showing injury recovery data. Emma discussing her bear encounter like it was an amusing anecdote. Humans did not adapt to survive. They adapted to conquer, and when they ran out of natural challenges, when they finally beat their Deathworld at its own game, they got bored. Bored? Threxus repeated. Bored, I confirmed. So they invented new dangers, harder rules. They created extreme sports, exploration challenges, competitive activities designed specifically to push their physical and mental limits. They took the philosophy of adapt or die and turned it into thrive and innovate. They did not just rewrite Earth's rules, they made entirely new ones. The chamber went very quiet. What are you saying, consultant? Volmek asked slowly. I am saying humans are not a species that survived a Deathworld. They are a species that graduated from one. I met his eye stalks directly. They learned every lesson Earth had to teach, mastered every survival skill required, and then looked around for the next challenge. Do you understand what that means? Enlighten us, Bormak said. It means they are coming into the galaxy not as survivors seeking shelter, but as masters seeking new mountains to climb. They will not simply adapt to galactic civilization, they will transform it, challenge it, push boundaries we did not know existed. More silence. I could see calculations happening behind multiple sets of eyes. Your recommendation? Volmek asked finally. I took a breath. Accept their application immediately. What? Accept them, I repeated firmly. Because if we refuse, if we make them wait, if we treat them as a problem to be contained rather than a partner to be welcomed, we create something far more dangerous than an allied human civilization. Which is a motivated one. I closed my datapad. Humans thrive on challenges, counselors. They excel when told something is impossible. Do not make their next challenge figuring out how to join the galaxy without our permission. Trust me, they will find a way. And it will be far more disruptive than simply letting them in through proper channels. The council members exchanged looks. Motion to accept humanity's membership application, Volmek said quietly. All in favor? Unanimous agreement. Meeting adjourned. I left the chamber, exhausted but oddly satisfied. My communicator chimed again. Message from Marcus Chen. Heard you nailed the presentation. Welcome party scheduled for next month. Hope you can make it. Fair warning. There will be alcohol. I found myself laughing. Actually laughing. Because here was the thing about humans that I had finally figured out. Their optimism was not naive. It was not ignorance. It was weaponized hope, forged in the fires of a planet that tried everything possible to extinguish them and failed. They looked at impossible odds and smiled. They faced extinction-level challenges and innovated. They survived a grade 12 Deathworld not by cowering but by standing up and declaring, not today, and not ever. The galaxy was about to learn what I already knew. Humans did not play by anyone else's rules. They were about to teach us all some new ones. And honestly, I was terrified and excited in equal measure to see what came next. Because if humanity could turn a Deathworld into a home, what could they do with an entire galaxy as their playground? I suspected we were all about to find out. End report.